Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Charlene, and if you are new here, this is my third episode in our making wax melt series, so welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back and thank you for joining us again. So if you haven't watched the previous episodes, I would recommend going back and watching those. But basically today we are making wax melts. So before I begin making wax melts, I make sure I clean all of my moulds. So basically I do this by just heating the old wax with a heat gun and just using a cloth to wipe away the melted wax. Now that I've managed to get majority of the wax off, I then soak the moulds in some warm soapy water for about 5 minutes, and once that's done I just use the cloth and just rinse off the remaining residue. And because it's a lovely sunny day, I'm just popping them outside just to dry, basically. So I leave them to dry, and once they're dry we can begin using them. Now it's time to tackle the pouring pitchers, or the jugs. So basically I just repeat the same process with the jugs. I heat them up, pour the wax out, and then wipe with a tissue or cloth. Now that those are all nice and clean, I go ahead and set up the wax melter. So first things first, always make sure that the spout lever is on the off setting. This is just to make sure that once the wax has melted that it doesn't begin to leak out. Make sure that the pot is plugged in and switched on at the mains, and then I go ahead and set the wax melter to the temperature that I need to melt my wax. Time to choose fragrance oils. This is probably the most exciting bit, as well as adding colour, but yeah, I get my fragrance oils mainly from Candle Shack and discount candle supplies. I feel like they are the best quality fragrance oils. I also use a fragrance oil from Oasis. I think it's Oasis Oils. I will put it in the description down below. So basically what I am doing here is just making sure that I can use these oils at the correct amount in the wax, and just going over what temperature I need to melt my wax at, what temperature I need to add the fragrance oil, and pour my wax into the wax melt moulds. I use a soy wax from Candle Shack, and the recommendations in terms of how much fragrance oil my wax can hold is 10%. So I go ahead and weigh out 10 grams of fragrance oil, and I will then go ahead and weigh out 90 grams of wax. And once combined, that makes 100, which means 10% of that total mixture is fragrance oil. Here I'm just adding a little bit of mica powder to the mould. Now time to weigh out the wax. For those who have never used a wax melter before, if you don't fill the wax above the spout line, then you will need to tip the wax melter to make sure that the wax pours out. I hope that makes sense. Now for the purpose of this video, I just wanted to show you the temperatures and how quickly the temperature drops as soon as you add the fragrance oil. So as you can see, when I poured the wax, it was at 71 degrees Celsius, and when I poured the fragrance oil in, it dropped to 61 degrees Celsius. So that's a drop in 10 degrees Celsius in the space of a few seconds. Now as you can see, I was really unprepared in this video, so I'm faffing around trying to find the colouring chips to add to the wax, and I'm just heating the wax up a little bit more and stirring the whole mixture for about 2 minutes until it turns a different colour and the fragrance oil has binded to the wax, and then I go ahead and pour into the wax melt moulds. Let's go ahead and repeat the process. Now with this one I'm doing a slightly different process. So I pour half of the uncoloured liquid into the mould, and then once that's been poured, I go ahead and add a little bit of mica powder and a colouring chip. I stir that thoroughly, and then for an ombre effect I'm going to pour this green colour on top of the uncoloured wax, and then I'll give that a mix. This time round we're still going for an ombre look, but we're going to do half blue and half white. So we're going to put blue at the top and white at the bottom. So that's how we make wax melts, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please join me in the next video where I demold these wax melts and I put them into their packaging. We have a look, we weigh them, and maybe look at some labelling as well. Thank you for watching. Bye.